Okay, I'll be covering Chapter 8, found on pages 152 and 153, starting with, I don't think she ever loved him, to the next page, the freshest and the best forever. Throughout this chapter, we go back to reminiscing the time of Daisy and Gatsby. Gatsby is still holding on to hope that Daisy will go back to him. We understand that before this, Gatsby mentions how he had no real right to touch her hand, which focuses on the distinct differences new money versus old money, and how class will always be the most important factor in Daisy's eyes. However, Gatsby holds on to that hope because he knows how happy he makes Daisy when he says, she was very excited this afternoon. To support the fact that Gatsby completes Daisy, Fitzgerald utilizes a dash, which is underlined in red, mentioning that, of course she might have loved him just for a minute when they were first married, and loved me even more then, do you see? By putting this dash in the sentence, Fitzgerald intends to show how even though Daisy may have loved Tom, we cannot forget the fact that she loved Gatsby as well. To emphasize this, Fitzgerald uses the dash for a better understanding of why Gatsby doesn't want to lose that last bit of hope he has left. Another device I found was a little further down on the page, right after Gatsby says, it was just personal. It was personal indeed, and Fitzgerald makes sure we understand this by the use of a rhetorical question to follow. Found in green, I underlined, what could you make of that, except to suspect some intensity in his conception of the affair that couldn't be measured? In other words, Fitzgerald is implying what we should assume in this rhetorical question, which was that there's nothing else to make of this other than to suspect that Gatsby's interpretation of the affair involving him and Daisy is a bit too much personal. Personal being mentioned right before this rhetorical question intentionally to suggest that Gatsby's ideas were much more elevated than that of Daisy. This use of a rhetorical question affects the readers by feeling a bit sympathetic towards Gatsby because he wants what he cannot have, which he slowly starts to realize as the chapter continues. We go back now from when Gatsby was in the war. Gatsby then was so infatuated with Daisy that he didn't want to go back to reality of the matter. Underlined in blue was another device I found, a simile, which mentions that he stretched out his hand desperately as if to snatch only a wisp of air to save a fragment of the spot that she had made lovely for him. By utilizing this simile, Fitzgerald intends to let the audience know why Gatsby cannot let go now because of how desperate he was for her then. Gatsby savored the idea of Daisy and wanted to keep her on his mind forever. Gatsby then didn't want to let go of her when he was at war, and Gatsby now doesn't want to either. However, he knows the truth now and is starting to accept it. The last sentence of this passage, underlined in purple, was intended to let the audience know that Gatsby knows now he lost the good that he had had. By using a periodic sentence, Fitzgerald anticipates for the audience to recognize that the most important part of his sentence is at the end. But it was all going by too fast now for his blurred eyes, and he knew that he had lost that part of it, the freshest and the best forever. That part being their chance of being together, and also when he mentions losing the best, implies that Gatsby still respected Daisy and will always see her as the best, whether he can call her his or not.